All right. Good morning, friends. Happy to be here this morning and to welcome you to Calgary Economic Development's Optimism for the Future of Energy conversation with some of my great friends you're soon going to meet. My name is Megan Zimmerman. I'm the Director of Business Development at Calgary Economic Development, and the team and I are just so happy to be a supporting partner of this conference and really enjoyed the sessions yesterday. So thank you for that. We'll try to keep the momentum going today, and we're really fortunate to be joined by some of the city's most dynamic thought leaders across the energy spectrum. From lithium to batteries, avatars to ESGs, I'm so proud to host and introduce this group to the Alberta Student Energy Conference attendees. Each of our speakers are excited to share their personal energy journeys with you, lessons learned, and all the reasons they are inspired to create a new energy future in Alberta. Hopefully, all of our listeners will leave a little more informed, more hopeful, and inspired about the opportunities for Alberta in this energy transition. You'll meet Erik, Allan, Program Director for the Tundra ACE program, Liz Lappin, Vice President of Corporate Affairs and Exploration with E3 Metals, Kevin Krausert, CEO and co-founder of Avatar Innovations, and finally, Mark Dain, Vice President of Strategy with Validere. And of course, we'll close with some comments from my friend and colleague, Cord Ellingson, Vice President of Research and Strategy at Calgary Economic Development. So we're gonna start with Erik. I'm just gonna give you a little more info about Erik before he gets started. So Erik, like I said, is the Program Director of the Tundra ACE program. Erik has spent the last 4 years heavily involved in Calgary's innovation ecosystem, running the Calgary-based technology accelerator, Tundra ACE. This program helps entrepreneurs leverage Tundra Process Solutions' established market channel, all while helping Tundra's customers solve their challenges by deploying new tech. Erik is incredibly passionate, as you'll soon see, about all things entrepreneurship, and he's also an avid martial artist, which includes running a non-for-profit called the Budo Youth Fund that helps deserving kids tap into their true potential through martial arts. Take it away, Erik.
Thank you so much, Megan, and thank you for having me. It's a real honor to be here. I'm thrown back to my days in university when I was just graduating. You're excited, you're nervous, it's uncertain, you're hopeful. There's this whirlwind of emotions giving what's going on in the economy, where the jobs are going to be, and where am I going to fit? So what I would like to do is share with you my path, my journey that I'm still on to this day, and share some tactics and strategies that I've used to really stay on this path. And I'd like to take it from the top. I was born in a very entrepreneurial family. My dad is very entrepreneurial, and through osmosis, I feel like I gained an entrepreneurial mindset. And I was never an academic. I was never really good at school. I had to work really, really hard. And I feel like martial arts really gave me that work ethic, the discipline, and the ability to focus. Despite not being gifted in books, how do I overcome those challenges and achieve a goal? And so going into university, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I was a creative. I liked the thought of being an entrepreneur, but I also liked the thought of inventing things and creating new technologies. And so I thought engineering might be really helpful. And when I got into engineering, I really thought, wow, how amazing would it be to have an idea in my head and then have the abilities to be the conduit to which brings that idea into the world. But then I also thought, well, that's one piece of the puzzle. I need the other piece, which is to learn how to actually bring that invention, that creation, into the hands where it can serve and help people. So that takes business, that takes the sort of the BCom side. And so I really was at a crossroads. I was like, do I do engineering or do I do a BCom? And I chose engineering, but I was so lucky that the Haskayne School of Business recently had launched a program that allowed engineering students to take a minor in entrepreneurship. And that's what I did. So I did a major in mechanical engineering and a minor in entrepreneurship and enterprise development. And I dug right in. These courses were incredible. What I was learning in engineering, I was applying in the entrepreneurship space. I literally started my first business while I was in university, designing this really cool piece of fitness equipment. And I didn't really have any affinity towards the energy sector. My friends were all excited about these high-paying jobs, and I would just look at them like oil and gas or energy. It's just like, what does that have to do with me? I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I'm never going to have a job in my life. I'm going to go take over the world as a fitness mogul and never look back. And as I graduated in '09, where was not the best of market conditions, my dreams of being a fitness mogul came crashing down. And I had to really take stock of what my next move was. I was contracting to some companies, help doing some engineering drawings for some money. And then I didn't know, what I realized was that I didn't know what I didn't know. And that I needed some experience because my game plan of being this rootin' tootin' falutin' entrepreneur didn't really work out. And so it really made me go introspectively. And it was at that time where while I was in university, a gentleman that I met who wasn't a student, wasn't a teacher, I just struck up a conversation with him, and he had started his own business, and he sponsored the Formula One team at the University of Calgary, who builds the race cars every year. And he was like, yeah, my business, we sponsor the program. And I wanted to learn everything about his business. And so we had this great conversation. And I remember I had business cards made, and I was so excited to hand out my first business card. It just had my name and contact information on it. And then I totally forgot about it. And so years after the crash came down, I was sitting and got a phone call, and it was from a gentleman named Brian Taylor. I'm like, who's Brian Taylor? He's like, remember we met at the university, and I really loved that your fitness business. How's that going? I'm like, yeah, it didn't really work out. How's your business going? He's like, actually, it's going really well. And we have an opportunity that just opened up, and I think you'd be a really good fit. Do you want to come talk? I said, absolutely, let's do it. So I went in there and learned about his business and what he was doing to create internet technology to optimize hard assets. And I was fascinated. I didn't even know that this was going on. And he made it so that I really understood that I could run a business inside a business and become an intrapreneur and really learn and grow. And I learned so much through this process. I learned public speaking. I learned how to network, technical problem solving. And in my networking, I met a gentleman named Iggy Domagalski. He's this young entrepreneur, a business owner, CEO. He was growing this company, $100 million business through acquisition. And I was fascinated with how this young guy was killing it, creating one of Alberta's fastest growing companies. And he was really fascinated with all of the crazy side hustles that I was doing while I had a full-time job. And so we would meet every 6 months or so just to exchange war stories. And I then convinced myself that none of my side hustles were working because I never had both feet in the boat. I always had one on shore with the safety of a job, and that allowed me to speculate in entrepreneurship and try a whole bunch of crazy ideas. So I convinced myself the reason why I'm not successful is because I don't have both feet in the boat. And so I said, I had this idea for this app. I got my PNG. I was at this company for 5 years. I'm like, it's time. Now is my time. Jumped, submitted my resignation September 1st, 2014. Now, if you remember what happened in 2014, the oil market crashed. And along with that came my entrepreneurial dreams crashing down yet again. Now, this time was much worse. I lost the safety net of the job. I went flat broke. And when I mean flat broke, I cashed out my RSPs at the ripe age of 30. And for the first time in my life was depressed, got to feel what that really felt like. Questioning who I thought I was. I thought I was supposed to be successful, and I was beating myself up. Here I am, a professional engineer fixing fences for cash, asking myself, what have I become? And it was at that depth of despair where I got a phone call from Iggy Domagalski. And he said, listen, Erik, Tundra's been approached by a compressor company that wants to understand what the market would be if we could help sell some compressor units. My team's really excited, but nobody knows anything about compressors, and you do. Would you want to come help us figure this out? And if it looks good, you could run the division. I'm like, my prayers have been answered. I'm in, mark me down, put me in, coach. So I was super excited to go in there and learn and help Tundra figure out if this is a good business move. And I could get a really good gig out of it. The problem was when I did all my due diligence, this was looking ugly. I came back and reported to their board of directors and shut the whole thing down, told them exactly why this was a bad idea with the boneyard of companies that have tried this before and why this is really an opportunity to lose a lot of money. Realizing that I worked myself out of a gig, but what I didn't know was that their entire team loved this, that I was giving them the goods straight. And they said, Erik, could you go do that again for this pump company? And so I started turning into this bloodhound, sniffing out opportunities as a consultant. And that was when we had this idea. Why am I going out one by one to find interesting opportunities when Tundra has this huge market channel? The entrepreneurs should be coming to us. And that was the birth of the ACE program, where we designed a program that would help entrepreneurs with really interesting technologies that solve some of our customers' challenges. We would show the companies those technologies, and the companies that are like, oh my, when is that ready? We then know that there's market pull. And then we know that we could invest in these companies and help them gain access to market in a difficult environment where, as an entrepreneur, it is difficult to get your technologies commercialized. And that was the birth of the ACE program. And it's been a wild ride, and it's literally been a paid MBA. And when I look back on it, I have always stood true despite the challenges that I faced. I never deviated from my driving force around entrepreneurship. And if I could advise you, is to figure out what that is for you, what excites you, what makes you get out of bed and is your driving force. What makes you want to get out and take over the world, whatever that is. It could be technology, it could be environment, it could be sustainability, social change, whatever that driving force is. Take that into any intro position that you get, and the universe has a really weird way of conspiring to open up the path that you are supposed to be on. Alberta needs you. Canada needs you. We are going through a crazy time. There's a lot of transition going on. The boomer generation is retiring. There is a void of talent, and we need excited people that are passionate and on purpose to help our economy thrive and help us all be the best we can be. So with that, I invite you to embark on this new journey, and I hope that it is nothing but an exciting journey full of discovery. Thank you.
I just wished you just had a little bit more passion, Erik. It would have been a little bit better.
All right. I'll turn it up next time.
I think you're going to have a new following. Watch the Budo Brother Instagram. I think you're going to have a lot of new friends. Thank you for that. And a good way to kick things off. And I mean, I've known Erik for a long time, and I kind of get tingly. It's like listening to the mayor. You're in that category. My heart just kind of palpitates when I hear that passion. So thank you, Erik. And I'm sure there'll be questions for you. We'll come back to you, but I am excited to move on to our next speaker, Liz. And I know Liz is going to share some slides with us. So when she tees that up, I just want to introduce Liz Lappin. So Liz is a professional geologist, a rigorous optimist, and passionate about the natural fit between lithium, geothermal, and oil and gas in Alberta. So a hot area that I'm sure lots of young graduates and students will be excited to learn about from Liz. Liz drives the technical group at E3 Metals towards the development of lithium brine projects in Alberta while managing the corporate affairs portfolio, including stakeholder and government relations. So Liz, over to you.
Wonderful. Thanks, Megan. Just want to confirm, can everybody see just the slide and not the one with all the notes and the timer and everything? Yeah, good. All right, awesome. Erik, tough act to follow. I have passion, but I think
I do see your notes, but it's
okay. Let me just swap that over. Okay.
Yeah, we can all see your notes.
On you. There you go. Now
all
I
right.
can see this. Perfect.
Perfect. Okay. So bear with me here while there we go. Just make sure that I can see my notes and you can see me. All right. So thank you for that introduction. And I'll try to be as passionate as Erik. So yeah, I'm Liz Lappin. I'm really excited to be with you today. I'm with E3 Metals Corp. We're developing a lithium project in Alberta. My background is geology. I spent 12 years working in the oil and gas industry as a project geologist, and that was really, really fun. It gave me a lot of the skills I needed to do that and more. Things like geothermal and lithium, of course, and right now, working with E3, it's just an incredible journey getting this first of kind project off the ground. So today, I want to talk to you about Alberta's energy future and all the things that encompasses. So if you're wondering what lithium development is going to look like in Alberta, it's going to look like this. It's going to look like oil and gas. So this pump jack makes about 98% brine and about 2% water. E3 sampled this well as part of over 100 well sampling program. And through that work, we discovered that this particular area in between Calgary and Edmonton in Alberta has vast deposits of lithium. And so when I see pump jacks, I don't automatically think of just oil and gas. I think about what else is there too. So, and there's a lot to discover. This is a picture taken from an airplane looking out to the west of E3's project area. And there's a nearby wind farm that could potentially one day power some of our lithium production. And this is really helpful because we're looking to develop this project net zero. Of course, that's really important federally in Canada, and I believe it's the right way to develop this project. It also it's going to make Alberta's lithium highly marketable in a competitive marketplace. But as Albertans, you probably are aware that that's not really a simple task to develop net zero. There's a variety of other potential energy sources we could look at, like geothermal and solar. And there's the opportunity to capture carbon from a natural gas generation plant. After all, natural gas is abundant in Alberta and it's cheap, and we could sequester that CO2 geologically in the same reservoir that we'd be producing lithium from. And the beautiful thing, and something Alberta should be proud of, is that we know about these opportunities because of oil and gas development. We discovered them while we were looking at something else. And so it turns out that we know how to develop them. We have a highly trained workforce. We have folks that are experts in subsurface development, geology, reservoir engineering, facilities engineering. We know how to develop responsibly, forming solid relationships in the community. And we try to do things in a good way, respecting our First Nations and those who have walked before us. Even some of the infrastructure already in place, things in this picture that you can see, like roads and power lines, site clearings, can be converted into new uses for lithium, but also other things too, like geothermal and hydrogen and solar. And finally, we will develop these opportunities in Alberta because we're committed to a diverse energy future, one that is inclusive and one that helps us become more resilient. So I can imagine it's probably a difficult time to be in school and looking out forward to and evaluating your opportunities. Maybe it feels like you're stuck beneath some low cloud cover, like shown in this picture. And when it comes to that, I have a small piece of advice to share, and I'll share a story with you. When I started my career in oil and gas, I was obsessed with geothermal energy. I'll be honest with you. This is like a lifelong obsession I've had. And when I graduated, I asked a geothermal expert to mentor me. And so I was living in Calgary. Every couple of weeks, I'd hook up with this geothermal expert, and my day job was in oil and gas. And we'd chat about heat, which I'm sure you guys all think sounds really fun, but it was to me. And anyways, one day after about 6 months, he said to me, "Liz, the geothermal industry, it's going nowhere in Canada. You're not going to be able to get a job. You have to move to Nevada, or you have to move to Iceland, or you just need to put your head down and focus on your current oil and gas." And I admired him a lot, and I felt that was practical advice. And so I did that. I put down my head and I focused. But here's the thing about dreams, and something that Erik alluded to earlier as well, is that the things that interest you and your dreams, they don't just go away. They don't disappear. They stay. They become themes in your life, and they hang around. And so I found all kinds of excuses to look at geothermal in my oil and gas work. I was that person who talked about heat. I was maybe even a little odd, a little bit of a pariah, just always talking about geothermal, especially back then. It wasn't quite as popular to be talking about things that are green in the oil patch. And so I was the one you could come to for a heat map. And as time went on, that energy just got stronger and stronger until, one day I realized what was really getting me so excited. And it was it was that I could do all the things. And, I could do that because of the expertise that I had gained in oil and gas. And so I'm here today, I'm doing oil and gas because lithium is just like doing oil and gas. I'm doing geothermal, that water's hot. We're going to use that heat. And more than that. And I still get little butterflies every time I get to add something else to that list. So if you find yourself under the clouds today, I would encourage you to get in an airplane and seek out those things that you love. So now I'm going to take us back to this pump jack picture. And I want to know, what else do you see? And you can throw it in the chat if you want. I want to know, do you see aging infrastructure? Do you see a person collecting a sample? There's a person in that picture with a yellow tank on their back, safely protecting them against H2S. There's an E3 Metals logo. Do you see that we photoshopped on there? Do you see a future solar site? Do you see lithium production facility, enhanced oil recovery? Do you see a carbon trunk line? What you see in this picture is your future, and there's nothing more exciting than that. And with that, I'll close with some thanks and sincere hope for the future with all of you at the helm.
That was brilliant, Liz. Another really interesting take on your journey and where you're going. And man, I kind of wish I was in third year engineering and I could be, making decisions to work in some of these areas. Very, very inspiring. So thank you very much. Okay, I hope the crowd's getting excited. I wish I could see everybody and we could give you a big round of applause, but that was awesome. All right, we're keeping the energy going. Kevin, not one to shy away from the energy. So I'm happy to introduce Kevin Krausert. Kevin has spent 20 years on the front lines of energy innovation in numerous executive leadership roles in the industry, all the way from roughneck to CEO, as Kevin says, of Canada's oldest drilling company. His accomplishments speak for themselves, championing some of the first fully computerized drilling rigs in the world, to leading the first long-reach horizontal well in the Canadian Arctic. Kevin's a major champion for unlocking the energy transition solutions inside oil and gas for a better future. Over to you, Kevin.
Thanks, Megan. Yeah, Liz, you're a tough act to follow as well, but yeah, you've got a pretty good group of the future leaders of energy on this panel today, and we look forward to welcoming all of you on the call into this. You're stepping into an incredible journey. I think in one of the most exciting sectors, frankly, anywhere in the world. And I think about this frequently of why, I'm passionate about the energy industry. And it's not because I've worked in it a long time. It's not even necessarily that I think it's the greatest investment opportunity that our planet faces right now. It's much deeper than that. And at the core of it, it's because I've realized that energy is the transformational tool that brought humanity out of the darkness. I mean this very literally. Think about it. Our best scientific evidence is such that humanity lived for several hundreds of thousands of years before discovering fire. Our species lived for several hundreds of thousand years without the ability to create heat or to cook their food or to create light to break the endless darkness of night. And so think about what the discovery of fire brought humanity. Armed with this new tool, our species wandered out of Africa into brand new places our species had never seen before. Our species wandered into caves and for the first time created art and understood ourselves in a brand new way. Truly, the creation of fire was the first energy transition, and energy drove our species to think about itself and realize itself in a new way. And so it was at the next major point in human evolution, the agrarian revolution. Once our species figured out how to cultivate the power of sun to grow a new food source, crops, civilization was born, cities were born, literature was born, And once again, energy drove our species to understand itself in a new way. And so likewise, with the Industrial Revolution, driven by coal, the single greatest advancement in the standard of living of our species, in the history of our species, driven by this voracious new source of energy. And think about the technologies that came with it. But also many challenges came with it. Pollution, abhorrent work conditions. And so while energy holds this power to transform our lives in new ways, it comes with a responsibility. And like it is for us today, with the digital era, where we can take tremendous amounts of knowledge and put it on a tiny pin or in our little bit of our pocket, with rockets blasting us to space to colonize the universe or the solar system in brand new ways, landing on Mars yesterday. But let's be absolutely clear about what has driven this next step in human evolution, and that energy source has been oil and gas. But that still brings us to the greatest challenge of our time, decarbonization. As it was in the Industrial Revolution, the responsibilities that came with this new source of power, we have to be cognizant of the responsibility we have to decarbonize so that our planet can continue and our species can continue this grand new journey. And so as the world races to net zero, this is the penultimate challenge of our time. We are literally going to have to rewire our planet. Trillions of dollars are going to be required for this capital. Energy is the new internet. It is the greatest investment opportunity of our time. And the reality is solar and wind are very established markets. The solutions that exist to decarbonizing the aspects of our planet most difficult to decarbonize exist inside oil and gas. Whether that is carbon capture or geothermal or long duration storage or hydrogen, these are solutions we are doing inside oil and gas. And so this is the reason I'm so excited about what we can do. This tired narrative of us versus them, of renewables versus oil and gas, is not helpful. It's not true. So here we are today with the solutions at our hands, the future before us, and a wild opportunity and journey. And so join us, join the team on this group. There is a new energy future, and you're going to build it. Please join us.
Kevin, awesome. I gotta make a comment on that carpet. That's one of the best, backgrounds for a Zoom presentation I've seen. So awesome. adds color to the already color commentary. So thank you. And now, Mark, but lots of time to warm up and meet these speakers in terms of sharing these great ideas for positioning for the energy future for the next generation of leaders. So Mark currently serves as the VP of Strategy with Validere in Calgary. He works with the company and clients to improve the efficiency of the world's largest supply chain through predictive software. Validere was ranked as the top oil and gas software at the World Oil Awards, a top 20 technology company in Canada by CIX, and now serves over 50 energy clients, improving their economics and reducing emissions. Prior to joining Validere, Mark was an investment banker with Barclays, successfully completing over $18 billion of M&A transactions and $5 billion of capital market transactions. Lots of credibility there, Mark. Over to you.
Perfect. Thank you, Megan, and thanks to the fellow panelists. To soften up that bio a bit, I'll just admit that almost all the degrees on the wall are my wife's and not mine. I just sit in front of them to impress clients in meetings. I wanted to flag two things kind of before I go into the specifics around Validere and some of the opportunities today, just based on items I've heard kind of, throughout the conference and in other sessions. And the first is there's considerable focus at all these events around energy transition, and that's great. That's happening. No matter your skill set, you can be a part of that. But one thing I wanted to flag, and we see this all the time at Validere, is that this energy transition actually requires a shocking amount of legacy fossil fuels. There's this interesting thing we're seeing in Africa right now, where the demand projections for the continent are actually increasing for the simple reason that most of the base metals required for the battery transition are needing to be mined there. And, diesel and gasoline are great and frankly necessary fuel to achieve that. And so the ability to find that, produce that, and do it extremely responsibly has arguably never been more important. So I wanted to flag that if you're a petroleum engineer and you're attending these sessions and you are discouraged because that's exactly what you want to do, I would argue that doing that well and doing that correctly and responsibly is going to be probably more important in this next decade than ever before. The second thing I wanted to flag kind of before getting into this is we actually, both myself, my peers on this panel, all kind of the peer companies, we need you desperately. So I am very self-interested in being here today. I have about 30 bodies I have to hire over the next year. And if smart people like yourselves are excited about this mission, that serves me very well. So that's why I kind of have this page right here, which is, here's how big and important Validere does. And I'm entirely aligned on that because I want you to get excited about this mission. Validere is an AI software company. We have offices Calgary, Toronto, Houston. Our office is in Sun Life in Calgary, and I encourage you to stop by. You would be surprised how easy it is to get into a number of conversations just by bringing coffee by to one of these offices. So certainly stop by. Wait until COVID is better though. So not at my home. Wait until we're back in Sun Life. And there are kind of three things I want to emphasize on this page really quickly. One is the energy industry has always been blessed where you've got a number of cross-disciplinary experts within an organization. And, you look at Liz talking about her background and interests, everyone on this panel, that's clearly never been more true. And I think one of the exciting things is this is actually expanding. So my day is entirely spent with people much smarter than myself. Kind of the core team I'm involved in is it's some traders from Bridgewater, some Harvard PhDs, some energy professionals from in town. And you think about that, those are exciting days when you get to work with a bunch of people, programmers and developers as well, that have entirely different skill sets than yourself. And this is true across the energy vertical. The other item I wanted to flag here is if you kind of look at our investor set, and we found this is true for a lot of our peers, these are the same investors that led rounds for Airbnb, Facebook, LinkedIn. And I think that's something where students graduating with energy degrees today will sometimes think that, okay, are there a lot of sexier opportunities that I'm frankly just missing out on in tech, in healthcare? And I'd say that has never been less true. If anything, a lot of the individuals that are smart and cutting edge involved in those verticals are rapidly transitioning to this one. I mean, you see that all the time. Individuals such as Bill Gates, all they do is talk about energy now. Everything else has become second priority to that. And then the third thing I wanted to flag is we've been very lucky where we've been able to go from effectively 0 clients 4 years ago to 50 clients now. And I'd say that's actually less a testament to ourselves and more a testament to how quickly the industry embraces opportunity and new technology. And I'd say it never gets enough credit for that. It's very difficult to grow as a B2B software company. Peers targeting verticals such as healthcare, they can look to add a couple clients a year. We've seen a lot of energy technology be able to add dozens of clients within a year. And this just isn't achievable in industries that aren't very receptive to change. And I'd say the energy industry and the executives, especially in Calgary, and you see them backing many of these companies, are prime examples of that. Now, how does Validere improve the energy supply chain. There's this interesting thing, and I want to outline kind of the complexity of this problem because it'll give you a sense for how exciting it is to work in this vertical. The energy supply chain is pretty unbelievable, where you've got trillions of dollars of product changing hands, and people often have to buy and sell that product without actually knowing what it is. You've got highly disparate supply. So you think about it as heavies in Canada, lighter product in the Permian. And despite it being viewed as a fungible commodity, you have very distinct demand desires on the other end. That can be refineries that want heavier grades to produce more diesel because everyone's getting their Amazon packages at home, or it can be a shipping company that needs low sulfur fuel oil to comply with environmental regulations, or we're even involved in selling utilities gas that has a specific methane profile because they want to make sure they're environmentally conscious for their stakeholders. You think about that, entirely different demand considerations, highly variable supply, and then to make it more difficult, you have to commingle everything to keep the entire machine running on time, and you have to change custody several times in between those two parties. What that does is that creates massive inefficiencies. And you see this on a large scale where, okay, a tanker arrives in South Korea or Singapore and it gets turned away because it's the wrong quality crude. And quality attributes can be everything from sulfur, viscosity, metals, to even the emissions associated with that molecule becoming increasingly important. You see that tanker get turned away. It's never been that's a very easy example where, okay, there's a massive economic loss associated with that, and there's a ton of environmental waste associated with having that data incorrect and resulting in that outcome. You could just think of what it costs to then send a tanker back across the world, and you see this all the time. Russian OC crisis, tainted product out of the SPR in the US. This happens all the time, and there are a ton of emissions and loss associated with it. What we do, and items like this happen all the time on a smaller scale, is we pull in all the data from the industry on what's measured on these products, and then we predict all the data that doesn't, so the products are finally moved efficiently to their right outcome and treated appropriately based on their specific qualities. You think about that, there's an industry component there, there's an AI prediction component there, there's a supply chain kind of large industry component, and we even had to build a full marketplace component so that people could find the qualities they actually wanted. That becomes a very exciting large scale business where you're solving a complex problem that has both an economic and environmental outcome. Now, I'm going to be really quickly on this opportunities portion so we can open it up for any questions, but I'm happy to revisit and send this after. Is how can I help? You're welcome to myself and peers. Be specific if you are, and look for opportunities to add value when doing so. I'm happy to walk you through that in the future. And then one thing I wanted to flag before cutting myself off, and I'm happy to revisit this, is there's an exceptional number of similar companies to ourselves, many of them much better, and an easy way to find them is through a lot of these quasi-government supportive organizations that have been created. So Calgary Economic Development is great, Scale AI, STTC, Alberta Innovates. If you just look through the names that they're supporting, it's a great way to find similar companies to ourselves. So I'm super excited. I hope eventually we get to cross paths either through our careers or working together. And it's actually an exceptional time that you're graduating. So I wish you luck.
Thanks, Mark. That's great. And it really speaks to something you'll hear Calgary Economic Development talk about a lot, which is the digitization of our industrial sectors. And of course, that includes energy. So it's very cool to see the mashup. Tech is certainly not a sector, but something that's driving innovation and opportunity in all industries. And that was a great example in energy. So thank you for that. I was debating, we do have quite a few questions that I'm going to get to, but I'm going to give my colleague Court a few minutes so we don't run out of time for Court. I know he's very excited to be here. I think it's important maybe just to kind of round out this great conversation of the private sector to talk a little bit about how does CED catalyze all this opportunity? What is our kind of role in the mix, both around the energy sector and the economy more broadly? So Court Ellingson is Calgary Economic Development's Vice President of Research and Strategy, which kind of means he does everything and he knows a little bit about everything. So he's a terrific colleague to work with. And I saw him smiling and nodding throughout all the presentations. So I think Court's probably very excited to say something himself. So Court, over to you, and then we'll get to some questions for the group.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Megan. I will try and not consume much time because I do know that there are a lot of questions. And holy, what a tough crowd to follow. I'm feeling pretty inspired listening to the panelists here today. If I had a takeaway of what I heard is that we're each passionate about our diverse energy and economic future. For me personally, it's about the power of community. It's about leveraging the assets and resources that we have available to us to design and build our own economic future. If there's one thing that I would say to anybody who's listening here today about what you've heard from the panelists, it's that we create our future. Don't feel like you don't belong here because you don't see what you think our future could be. Our future is what you will create. That's what if there's one thing I want people to take away, it's that. Calgary Economic Development is a proud supporter of the Alberta Student Energy Conference, and we appreciate the chance to connect with you, the future leaders of our city. It's you who will be the innovators who will guide Calgary towards its vision to become the city of choice in Canada for the world's best entrepreneurs, like the panelists you've heard today, embracing technology to solve our greatest challenges, like the panelists here today. A big part of getting to this future state is laying the groundwork to accelerate opportunities for you, our city's bright young minds, so you will continue to tackle global problems right here, from safe and secure food, efficient movement of goods and people, better health solutions, and to what brings us all here together today, cleaner energy. It goes without saying, it's been a tough few years for our energy sector. Structural change, low prices, and then the pandemic have dealt a heavy blow to our core industry and our community. But I assure you, the fact remains that Calgary and Alberta will always be a global energy center. That energy center might just look different tomorrow than it does today, as our panelists have described. Energy in all its forms is our backbone industry, from oil and natural gas to wind and solar and lithium, and new opportunities emerging in hydrogen and geothermal energy and so many more. There's no question Alberta is resource rich. And for the next generation of problem solvers, we are also opportunity rich. Calgary and Alberta are leaders in the global energy transition because of the groundbreaking work that's happening right here in our province. There's more investment in clean tech coming into Alberta than anywhere else in Canada. And Calgary represents approximately half of Alberta's $2.7 billion clean tech market. In 2019, Calgary was ranked as one of the world's top 15 clean tech ecosystems. And more than 70% of Alberta's clean tech head offices are located right here in Calgary. To stay ahead, we recognize technology as the greatest differentiator and disruptor in energy and across all industries. That's why our economic strategy, Calgary and the New Economy, is based on meeting the opportunity across these industries in a technologically advanced, digitally transformed world. Events like Alberta Student Energy's Hackathon demonstrate we are a city of problem solvers, and we are already on the road to digital transformation. Our people are our greatest asset, and our community spirit and entrepreneurial mindset will drive us forward. And by we, I mean you. You will be the disruptors of our energy future. Digital transformation is becoming the largest driver of new solutions and technology investments by energy companies. It's forecasted over the next few years, energy companies in Alberta will spend approximately $1.9 billion on digital transformation. Calgary energy companies are leaders in advanced drilling, reservoir treatment, remote sensors, and a number of below-the-ground innovations that have already been implemented to improve productivity and environmental performance. And they are increasingly employing above-ground technologies such as blockchain, artificial intelligence, augmented and virtual reality. The key takeaway here is that this innovation in energy tech and digital transformation requires talent. It's a top priority of ours and for Calgary and the New Economy. We expect a tech boom in Calgary with the number of companies perhaps doubling over the next 10 years in energy and across all of our sectors, in both our core sectors today and our emerging industry sectors. All of these companies, tech startups, established businesses plotting their digital roadmaps, and new companies that are drawn to the energy of Calgary will need tech-savvy talent just like you. I think we also heard our presenters earlier talk about the number of people that they're hiring. There are opportunities, and we need smart, bright people to fill those opportunities. It's why it is so promising to see initiatives like the Alberta Student Energy Conference nurture our future leaders in the sector, incubate innovation, and spark important discussions to propel us forward in the energy transition. To ensure students know the opportunities available in our city, Calgary Economic Development plans to participate in a number of career fairs and webinars with post-secondary institutions here in Calgary and across the country. The road to economic recovery is long, but we are only just beginning to realize and take advantage of the new opportunities that are available to us. I'm positive about our city's future. Seeing the level of talent coming out of our post-secondary institutions and as part of this conference gives me inspiration and hope. As a leading supplier of energy and part of the solution on climate action, we can be the center of global climate action with our city's strong innovation ecosystem and expertise in energy. Calgary will look different in the future as we navigate through the pandemic, digital transformation, and help Canada reach its net zero target. But there is no denying we will remain well-positioned to grow, evolve, and be the city of choice in Canada for those solving the world's greatest problems, like climate change and a net zero future. We are and always will be an opportunity-rich city of problem solvers, buoyed by our educated, engaged, and talented people, just like our panelists and just like you. Thank you for this opportunity to connect with our city's future energy leaders, and congratulations to the conference organizers on the 10th annual event. This has been incredible just listening to the 4 people here in front of me. I can't imagine what it'll be like for you listening to everyone else that you're going to have an opportunity to connect with today. Thank you for having me here today, and back to you, Megan.
Awesome. Thank you, Court. Okay, I'm going to hit the panelists with some questions. They're all kind of general questions. There's a couple directed to you, Liz. So I'll start with a couple general ones, and whoever would like to address it, maybe just 1 or 2 of you per question so we can get through a couple. What are some of the difficulties in getting your own technology commercialized? So there's obviously entrepreneurs out there thinking about bringing something to market. What's the advice the panel has? Erik, Kevin, whoever, Mark, Liz, whoever has a good answer for our students. Erik, I think you're talking, but you're on mute.
I am. There we go.
There you go.
Yeah, I think literally technology development is fraught. It's literally a landmine. You're navigating through landmines. And over the last 4 years of working with entrepreneurs and looking at their journey and understanding where their businesses fail and where their technologies fail, most of the time it's not that the technology doesn't do what the entrepreneur wants it to do. It's that they forgot to involve their end user in the development of the solution. So that by the time they've invented or done whatever it is they've done, and they're waiting to show their customers because they're going to be so amazed when they see it and it's finally ready. Those are some of the biggest failures that I've seen, where they've not only leveraged their house and their retirement on this, but they've waited so long that they've developed the solution so far that if they would have talked to their customer earlier in the beginning stages of the process and included them in the solution development process in an open way, they would have got the feedback that would have unlocked a whole area of value and would have at the same time had the customers buy in without even having a solution yet. They feel bought into the process because they're already included. And why would they not want to buy from you? Because you designed a solution for them. That is my biggest advice, is involve your end user as early as possible. Try to break your own business. Try to ask those questions around the value, what's in it for your customer, and can you, as the entrepreneur, the technology developer, give the market what they want, not what you want, not what you want your solution to be, but what the market wants.
Anyone else want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I'll echo a number of Erik. Oh, go ahead, Mark.
Sorry, I was just going to say that one thing I find really interesting in the industry in this vertical is that sometimes there's a misconception on who your customer is for the actual technology. We see this sometimes with lots of great emissions focused tech where they sell it to industry, but their actual customer is on the demand side, where they should get the utility to push this to industry, and utility actually wants certain things to be quantified so that it's worth it to them to buy a molecule that's reduced its emissions with that technology. That's something that with these large verticals, there's always an opportunity to reassess who within the ecosystem is actually pushing your technology, because it's sometimes not who you think.
Kevin, you want to add to that? Yeah, I'll echo kind of, I think, a lot of Erik's comments in the sense of like really making sure you have rapid prototyping and making sure you use design thinking and be able to adjust your design and your process at every step of the way and be as nimble and agile and modular as possible whenever you're considering any kind of tech development as Erik, I think that's going to get you to the end.
Sound advice, guys. Thank you very much. Liz, I have a question, kind of a question and a half for you. The question is around, what do you think the capacity is in Alberta for, the reuse of wells for both geothermal and lithium? And kind of the add-on question is, any advice for students trying to pivot from oil and gas into kind of areas that you're talking about with geo and lithium?
Sure. So I can't give you a number, but there's a lot of wells. I think the last number I heard was something like 600,000 wells still in the province with some kind of level of closure required. So, it's a pretty large number. And so I'm part of the camp that I look at all those wells as opportunities. A lot of them still have oil and gas life in them. In terms of lithium and geothermal, there's opportunities to be using those wells as exploration tools. So collecting sampling data and collecting temperature data. And then there's also, depending on what the parameters at the site are, the opportunity to turn those into commercial sites. But then there's also other opportunities like putting a solar farm. There's the Renew Well project moving forward. That's building a solar farm on a site. We have Proton Technologies that's converting an entire oil field into a hydrogen asset. And so there's a lot of different ways to think about it. And so I would just say, be as creative as possible. It could even be community use. It could be a ball diamond. I think the possibilities there are endless. And then when it comes to pivoting, I'm not going to lie to you, it's hard work, but it's at the same time, you have to pull from the foundation of skills and things that and put it towards the thing that you love. It doesn't make any sense to pivot into something that you don't care about or that you don't like just because it's, a good career opportunity. You have to match it really with what you love. And that's going to attract the resources to put in that hard work to get there.
Thanks, Liz. I'm looking at the time. So we have 3 minutes left. I see a question that might be a good closer, and then we can go through the panel and let everybody do a 30-second response if that works. So the question is, how can students better adjust themselves for the future of energy in Alberta? So I know you all kind of touched a little bit on advice, but I think it's pretty clear to the students around the future of energy is here. We know where we want to be a leader in energy transition, and they're trying to, and might be around how do they just get more educated, more informed, more connected. But kind of what's your parting words for helping students, be a part of that change and adaptation to where we're going? So maybe we'll start with Mark, because we ended with you in the panel, Mark, and then we'll work our way through the panel.
Yeah, I'd quickly say that regardless of what seat you're in, you'll be able to put your hand up to participate in these opportunities. Lots of clients that are using our AI software, for example, there will be project champions within those clients where they're involved in all the AI initiatives of that producer or that refinery or that midstreamer. And that's someone where you can just take your existing seat and learn more about these opportunities, and be able to apply your existing relationships and skill sets. And there's a surprising number of these available. And certainly reach out to me on LinkedIn if you have questions about how to access them.
Thanks, Mark. Kevin, over to you.
Be as cross-disciplinary as possible. That the future emerging technologies are not going to be one traditional defined research field. It's going to be taking that and merging it together with another opportunity and taking that and merging it to another. If you can think in that way and you can do that, you're well set up, I think, for the future. And jump in to as many opportunities as you can. You know, the world's not waiting for you. You got to jump in with both feet.
Erik.
I'd add on to that. I think the only thing that is constant is change, and really learning how to be comfortable in chaos is going to be a huge asset. And I'd really recommend putting on what I call a white belt mentality. You know, when you're starting something new, have that open mind. Go in there wanting to learn, wanting to grow, be inquisitive, lift up rocks, see what's under them. You will not know. And none of this is going to make sense until it's in the rear view. You're going to go down opportunities that you might think are wrong, but that's the next stepping stone that leads to the next step, that leads to the next step. And none of it'll make sense until you're in the rear view. But if you have that mindset of always wanting to learn and grow from whatever life throws at you, you will be successful.
Liz, final words to you.
Such great advice from everyone. And I think the only thing I have to add is that you have to be yourself. You can't come into this starting a new career thinking that you need to be something else. That's something that I had to learn. I had to learn that I didn't need to be like this person or like that person. I needed to be just like myself and pull strength from that. And that's really what's going to pull you forward.
And with that, we're at the bottom of the hour. So Court, Mark, Kevin, Erik, Liz, it's been a pleasure. It's a pleasure to know you and work with you. And I'm happy you could share your journeys and your joy for the future of energy and optimism with the students. So thank you for your time today. And I hope there was a lot of value for the students. We're looking forward to all the LinkedIn's and follow-ups and questions, because we know you're going to be lifting up all those rocks that Erik said. So have at her, and thank you guys. Enjoy the day.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me.
Bye.
Thanks,
Take
guys.
care.